Hi, I'd like to thank the Weston Middle School PTO for inviting me to come and speak with you today. My name is Kristen Ancker. I am the mom of a freshman at the Weston High School, a seventh grader in the Weston Middle School, and a fourth grader in the Weston Intermediate School. And today I'm going to be talking with you on developing a growth mindset and building resilience and courage in ourselves and in our children. So it's my slides don't want to listen to me. And sometimes they do. Let's see. There we go. Every day I'm getting better and better with technology. That's a growth mindset. So let me formally introduce myself if you don't know me. Before I was mom to those three kids, I was a Montessori educator, and I was a children's house teacher in a preschool kindergarten classroom. I was then the director of the children's house program at Summit Montessori School in Framingham, Massachusetts. And then I was an assistant head of school at a large Montessori school up in Littleton, Massachusetts, Oak Meadow Montessori School. And it was there that I kind of became that like disciplinarian in the school. I was the assistant head, so a lot of the teachers would come to me with some conflicts. You know, we had co-teachers, so it was almost like a marriage. And there was always conflicts when you're working very closely with somebody. And then there's conflicts within the classrooms. I had a lot of 3- and 4-year-old boys in my classroom, I think just to give the teachers a break. I was right in that children's house wing, so they would just come and visit me, and I would teach them how to make tea to then serve to their teacher. So it was, I always enjoyed those guys. And then I had a lot of 7th and 8th grade girls in my office at the time. It was actually right when social media was coming out, and there was some cyberbullying happening from the beginning. I think from the beginning of time, there's always been bullying in schools. So I just did a lot of work with mindset and schools and psychology, but it was before I became a parent. And I thought, oh, I'm going to be really good at this job one day. And then fast forward a couple years, and I have my almost 3-year-old. I was pregnant with my second, and I was like, whew, this is really hard. I felt pretty overwhelmed. My strong-willed 2.5-year-old didn't want to do what I wanted her to do. She didn't want to get in her car seat. She didn't want to wear what I wanted to wear. And I just was inviting power struggles with my communication. So I knew I needed some more tools. So I studied positive discipline. I went to become a certified positive discipline facilitator to teach parents, and then later on to teach educators as well. And then fast forward a few more years, I had another child. And I was still kind of like, ooh, this is really hard. It's hard work, the mama 3. And I knew I needed to do some more personal development work. And so I became an encouragement consultant, but really I wanted to use the work on myself. And that's using the positive discipline tools on yourself and Adlerian psychology, and how do you reparent your own inner child that comes out in times of conflict and stress, and just learning more about human development, and then being able to teach teachers this too was my intention. So I became a certified encouragement consultant, and then fast forward a couple more years, it's the pandemic. I've got 3 kids learning from home, and it was just a struggle, a challenge. There was a lot of anxiety, worry, stress, overwhelm, you name the primal fear. We're going to learn about this in a little bit. I was having it, but I knew as an educator, as a mentor, that I really only had 2 things in my control, and those were my thoughts and my actions. So I delved deep into mindset. I'm a transformational mindset coach for parents and educators, and I work with schools. I'm an accreditation consultant and the founder of the Parent Empowerment Program, which I can talk to you about another time. But I love mentoring teachers and parents, and I'm really excited to be here today to introduce this to you. So what is a growth mindset? According to Dr. Carol Dweck, I'm going to show you the book. She is the author of Mindset, Changing the Way You Think to Fulfill Your Potential. And she's kind of thought of as like the godmother of the growth mindset. So she was the first person to start talking about this idea. And what she was really studying, and it was all the research done in this book, is this idea between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. I'm going to focus on the growth mindset, and it's individuals that believe their talents can be developed through hard work, good strategies, and input from others. She believed and researched that human qualities such as intellectual skills can be cultivated, and that a person's true potential is unknown and unknowable. It's impossible to foresee what can be accomplished with years of passion, toil, and training. And she is just it teaches you too about the fixed mindset, how that fixed mindset is it was just static of your intelligence is static, and that's not really helpful for the world. So we're going to focus on a growth mindset. But how do you do this? And my next favorite is Dr. Rudolf Dreikurs. So Dr. Dreikurs studied under Alfred Adler, an Adlerian psychologist, Viennese psychologist. These guys are the founding fathers of positive discipline, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But they really believed it comes through courage, and children need encouragement like a plant needs water to survive. Children need this encouragement. We all need this encouragement. And so these four things are what we were talking about this morning in our PTO meeting. This courage to be imperfect. It's actually a lot for me to come onto you and talk to you about positive discipline and mindset. I have to have that courage to be imperfect. I'm not a perfect parent. I don't have perfect kids. But what I've learned are just a lot of different techniques and strategies and discipline tools that work and allows children to have this sense of belonging and significance. So when you can have the courage to be imperfect, when you as the parent can have the courage to be imperfect, mistakes are opportunities for learning. This idea of failure is just about the process, right? And especially our kids in middle school, they're going to fail. So, I'll go down to that third one, this courage to take risks, to try new behaviors. We were talking about the positives and the negatives this morning, but the courage to take risks, to try out for a sport when you're in 7th grade, that takes a lot of courage to try something new, to be in the school play, to try to sit at a different lunch table. All these things take a lot of courage. And we want to encourage that. But we also talked a little bit about that negative courage to take risks. But that is something where if we go into the fourth one, this courage to let go, we are going to have to start to do that as our children get a little bit older and in high school. This courage to let go, allow them to take these risks. It's in their human development. They need to risk take. So it's part of development, which makes it so scary as a parent, but we do have to have that courage for ourselves and for our children. And then this, the second one, I probably should move it all, this courage to accept yourself just as who you are. So I'm going to go down to the bottom and we talk about anything that validates, accepts, and acknowledges who you are in any given moment without judgments, without comparisons, without the shoulds and the have-tos, that raises our self-esteem. So that's by Lynn La, and Lynn was one of the co-founders of Positive Discipline and who trained me to be an encouragement consultant. How else are we going to do this? That's through our words. So that's something that I had to learn the hard way. Yes, I had a strong-willed 2.5-year-old. I had a strong-willed 3.5-year-old. I'm so thankful that she's a strong-willed 15-year-old right now. And we need to use these words of encouragement because it's not just what we say to our children, it's what they then say to themselves. So we talked a little bit about this idea of praise versus encouragement. And praise can teach dependency on others, and it looks for that external feedback. And encouragement focuses on capability and teaches internal validation to inspire with courage. So a few little like taglines might be, tell me about it. Tell me about your painting. Tell me about your work. Tell me about your day. Tell me about it. What do you think? How do you feel about that? Really, this idea of curiosity really comes into with these words of encouragement. And I always love this one, thank you for helping. Thank you for helping. But I want to go a little bit further on this. And I am going to be reading through the book Positive Discipline. It's by Dr. Jane Nelson. So Dr. Nelson, she wrote all the Positive Discipline books, and Lynn wrote this one with her, The Positive Discipline for Teenagers. I had this there today, and they're really great books. Highly recommend them. So the definition of praise is to express favorably judgment of, to glorify, especially by attribution of perfection, an expression of approval. So just hearing what I was saying earlier about what Dr. Dweck said, we have to be careful about this idea of perfection. We're all like working on a goal. We're trying to work on this internal locus of control. So encouragement definition is to inspire with courage, to spur on, to stimulate. Praise addresses the doer, good girl, and encouragement addresses the deed, good job. What we talked about earlier, though, the 5 reasons why not to say good job. I have that article if you want to ask me for it. Praise recognizes only complete, perfect product. You did it right. Encouragement recognizes effort and improvement. You gave it your best. Or, how do you feel about how you accomplished? Praise, the attitude might sound patronizing or manipulative. I like the way Susie is sitting. Whereas encouragement is respectful and appreciative. Who can show me how we should be sitting now? That might be in the classroom. They can do that. Praise uses an I message, and it's a little judgmental. I like the way you did that. And encouragement's I message is more self-directing. I appreciate your cooperation. Feel the difference? It's really slight. It's a very slight difference. Praise is used most often with children. Such a good girl. And encouragement is used more with adults. Thanks for helping. Some examples of some problems where praise can rob the person of ownership of their own achievement. So I'm proud of you for getting an A versus that A really reflects your hard work. And praise invites children to change for others. It could possibly become approval junkies. And encouragement, children change for themselves. They want that inner direction. Change is hard anyway, you put it, but they know that they're going to get better. Another word that Dr. Dweck uses is yet. When the child's like, oh, I'm so bad at math, well, you're not good at math yet. Yet is a really powerful word if we can get them to think that way, and ourselves too, right? We talk about the locus of control, and it teaches what to think on the evaluation of others versus how to think, that self-evaluation, which is a skill to do for sure. But the long-term effects, and this is what we're always talking about with positive discipline, are the long-term effects, the long-range goals. It's the dependence on others, and encouragement, it's self-confidence and self-reliance. So I'm going to be talking more about these words of encouragement. I'm constantly learning more ways because my kids are teaching me how to always be on my feet. So it's challenging. And the other positive communication tool that I shared with the group this morning was this idea. It's based on nonviolent communication by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. And he talked about these few different things. And then I'm going to give you a quick script on how to do it. But we want to be focused on observations. We're going to be describing the situation without judgment. This is all challenging, by the way. We're going to be expressing our feelings without criticism. We're going to be unfolding our desired needs to the other person while staying calm and being precise. And we're going to share requests so that our needs can be met. A specific request, doable, and we're going to avoid demanding. How do you do this, Kristen? I know it's so hard. And what we teach in the schools is this I feel statement. So this is a positive discipline tool. And if you can remember to say this, it's going to take a lot of thinking, but I'll tell you in a minute why that's important. It puts us back in our prefrontal cortex so we can think rationally. I feel blank. How do you feel? Throw a feeling word in there. Where's my book? Then I talked about Dr. Mark Brackett. So this is the program that Hurlbut uses and WIS, and it has the mood meter in the back. This is a great book, by the way. And he came to speak. Oh, no, I think he came to Fairfield, but I saw him speak. And this mood meter is great. I also talk about four main feelings in positive discipline. In the classrooms I go into, we say there's really four main feelings. You can either be sad, you could be mad, you could be glad, and you could be scared. Those are four basic feelings, right? So this is more for the younger child. And I'm sure, yeah, there's lots of other feelings words, yes. But when we're teaching children emotional intelligence, this is a great way to start with these four main feelings. Because what you could do is you could brainstorm with them. Like, what are some other words that mean sad? What are some other words that mean mad? What are some other words that mean glad? And what are some words that mean scared? There's so many different conversations that can come out of this, but it's a great activity to do in classrooms and with your kids. So I feel blank when blank. You explain when you feel that way, and I wish, and then you're making your request. I feel really frustrated when you leave your socks on the ground, and I wished you would put them in the hamper. I was trying to stay calm. I was getting a little annoyed there because it's a problem we have. But that's what I mean. I feel blank when blank, but describing the situation without judgment, and I wish. And then you can also guess sometimes with a you feel statement. Like maybe your kid comes home and he's all like huffing and puffing and you're like, oh gosh, you feel really jealous when that happened. Oh, I don't know. You make up something. You try to. You feel that when that happened and you wish that happened. But it's just opening up the conversation. It's a great conversation starter. But as I said before, it's not just what we say to our children, it's what they then say to themselves. So this chart is based on cognitive behavioral psychology. And it's basically how the human operating system works, this human being that we are. And it starts with our beliefs. So those beliefs, which birth to age 8 happens subconsciously. So our children really are picking up on the environment, the emotional environment, the social emotional environment, the physical environment even. Beliefs, what our adults are saying to them, what their siblings are saying to them, how they feel inside. All these beliefs are happening subconsciously. And then it starts to be more conscious. But those beliefs are always going to be aligned with our thoughts. So as I said before, when it was during the pandemic, I knew that I only had control of my thoughts and my actions here. So those thoughts are always going to be aligned. If it's a limiting belief, it's probably not going to be a good thought. If it's an empowered belief, then there you go. Then the thoughts are going to be aligned with our feelings. And those feelings tell us so much. So that's why I love Dr. Mark Brackett's work. Those feelings, it's like our emotional guidance system. And so I'm going to talk about this in the next slide. Our brain tells us when we're feeling bad, when we're like in this primal state, that's the anxiety, the worry, the overwhelm, the comparison. Who's saying what about me? How come they don't like my shoes? She's whispering. All these bad feelings of the stories that are going on in our head. And then those feelings will create actions, could be procrastination, possibly, if the feeling is, I can't do it right, or I'm not good enough. And then those actions will then create our results, which might, if it is a negative belief, it's a limiting belief, it's just going to keep creating this like psycho-cybernetic loop where we're just like, oh, see, can't do it right. Oh, see, I'm not smart enough. So those beliefs are really, really important. So what I help people do is to shift those beliefs. So that's the mindset piece of it. The mindset is our thinking of our thoughts in our head, and all the thoughts aren't always true. So we have to be aware of that. So if it's a limiting belief, we need to know it could have been from a decision that we made as a child, or a belief that our children are making right now about themselves. So we just have to be aware of this, the 5 primary drivers, because it is possible to shift the belief once you find awareness of it. And our thoughts, when we are, and I'm just going to move on to the next slide to explain this better. We're going to do a quick brain in the palm of our hand. And this is based on the work of Dr. Dan Siegel. And I have that YouTube link right there for you. It's great. I do this in with teachers, with parents, with my students, with my children. So when we can see the brain, when we can know a little bit more about how the brain works, oh, everything's better. You know, a little bit more knowledge is power. So if you look at your palm down, this is your brain stem. This is all those autonomic bodily functions, your breathing, your heart rate, your blood pressure, things that we're not aware of happening. That's your brain stem. And then if you put your thumb over the middle, this is the amygdala. This is the limbic area, the midbrain. And it's here where our emotional and behavioral responses live. It's also where the major radar lives. What are you going to do? You're going to freeze, fight, flight. I wrote faint in here. Another word is fawn. You know, that like people pleasing. There's so much. The limbic area. It's also where our emotions and our memories are stored, and that'll be important in a minute. And then if you put your hand, your fingers all the way down, and if you look on the back of your brain, and you can see that picture there, the back is your senses, where all your senses come in. And then this top part is your cortex, the thinking. And then there's your fingertips, your distal fingertips. And this represents the prefrontal cortex. And that prefrontal cortex is in charge of so much. And it's also not fully developed until the age of 25 to 30. So 25, 26, 27 for the females, and probably closer to 28 to 30 for males. So prefrontal cortex is where all the executive functionings live, all those executive functioning skills that, you know, we have a lot of neurodivergent children in our schools. We have them in our families. We have them in our, we are them. Some people need to be taught these executive functioning skills a little bit more than others. So that's where it is sometimes more of a challenge for the parents to have to teach those skills, to have to be consistent, to have to have a routine. It's just so helpful for children that need that support, strong support. But the prefrontal cortex is also where we think critically, we maintain that emotional balance, regulate our emotions. It's where empathy is stored, the ability to tune in to another person and understand their feelings, reasoning skills, so much happens here. But what also can happen is, so here's your brain, and then what happens when, and we're pretending this is the adult brain here, you have a bad night's sleep. You just don't sleep well. You're late to work in the morning. You go to work. You're getting cut off by someone on 95. You're a little bit late for a project. Then you come home and your kids are, you know, yelling, and you step on a Lego and everyone's fighting, and they're like, "So what's for dinner?" And like all these triggers, my husband hates that. I hate that word triggered, but it happens. We get triggered, right? So what happens is neuroscience has discovered this. You literally flip your lid. Boop, you flip your lid. So what is showing here? It's where our emotions and our memories stored. Maybe it's like you sound like your mother and you're like, oh God, I never want to sound like my mother. Maybe some deep down emotions that you stuff down there that comes up. that freeze, fight, flight response. It's the major radar. We are all human. It's going to happen. But the other thing that neuroscientists have discovered is that we also have these mirror neurons. We have to be so careful. When we are like this, it's only inviting our children to be like this too. And when our children are like this, the mirror neurons, it's just so strong, we could get emotionally hijacked. So that's why I love to do the work that I do. And I teach the parents and teachers when we can learn a little bit about like, okay, this is happening, that self-awareness, we can also learn another skill. And the other skill is what we are responsible for. We are responsible to regulate ourselves, to self-regulate, because our child needs that co-regulation. And that's what's challenging. So that's why he wrote the book, Children the Challenge. This is challenging. This is not easy work. And it's also a very important job. We have our children's self-esteem and self-confidence to be aware of. So when we can self-regulate, I was using the acronym STOP earlier. It was one little tool that I taught, STOP. So stop, T, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Observe what's happening in your body. Where are you feeling upset? Is it your chest? Is it your stomach? What is it? Why are you feeling that way? Curiosity can come in there. Observe. P, proceed with caution, kindness, and curiosity. So we also, I always like to use acronyms, but we also said, Q-tips needs to come in here too. Q-tips is quit taking it personally. We have to make sure we're not taking an outburst from our 12-year-old personally. And that's hard work too. That's a challenge. I shouldn't say hard, it's a challenge. But when we know that we are the role models and these are just skills that we can learn, and we also talked about when we blew up and it's going to happen, we can also recover, we can repair, we can apologize. But this is all the work of parenting that is, say it again, but it's the greatest job that we have on earth. So how can we regulate our own emotions and communicate in a way that invites connection and cooperation? So creating this growth mindset environment at home, and what does that look like? It starts with this idea of autonomy. And especially now as middle schoolers, but as a Montessori educator, I was doing it with my kids at a really young age, really focusing on helping them to be independent. So that younger child is saying, help me to do it myself. And what we need to be doing is, I'll jump over it, is that take time for training. Our goal as parents is to help to teach our children life skills to be successful. And when we can give our children responsibilities, so AKA chores, and lots of encouragement and faith, they will develop the skills necessary for success in life. But they're not going to just know how to do it. So we need to take the time for training. It takes time to learn new skills. It takes time for us to learn new skills. And change is always challenging. But we need to teach our children how to be a responsible member of our community. And that I need your help. They just need to feel that they're capable of doing it. Are they going to love to do chores? Probably not. I know sometimes when I ask my kids to do certain things after they do it, and this came from my oldest one time, she was like, that's a really satisfying job. So she did something, it was hard work, she completed it to completion. It was satisfying for her. They want to feel that. That's the feelings of self-esteem, self-confidence. Starts with that courage, and we have to encourage them. But I'm going to go in this middle aisle that mistakes are just opportunities for learning. And so this is that whole idea around failure. And if we can treat mistakes as just part of the process and look at failure as an opportunity to learn new skills, our children will gain confidence and courage. But we need to role model that first, that, I made a mistake. we talked about this earlier, and I don't think I have it down. And I was trying to think of the ideas of when we make a mistake. And so we're going to flip our lids at times. We're going to yell. We're going to say things that we wish we didn't, just because it's our, you know, the limbic area is working. And that's why you teach your children this. You're like, sometimes we flip our lid. And when they're in that primal state, they can't think, they can't reason, we can't. Dr. Jane Nelson also says, you know, with this whole mirror neurons, she's like, this is the reptilian brain. And you know what happens? Reptiles eat their young. So we talked about like, oh, did you know the bathroom technique? You go into the bathroom, take a deep breath. I also do some teaching with tapping and any ways that we can calm our nervous system. But when we as the adults who can have that mind sight, understand, see our thoughts, we can be aware that sometimes it's our thoughts that are creating the primal state. Our thoughts are creating those feelings. It's just how the human being operating system works. So thanks again. We had our PTO meeting and Zoom wouldn't allow us to be on, and we tried to record it, and I said, I'll record it when I get home and send it over to the Weston Middle School PTO. So thanks again for having me. And I'm here. So these are all my my information, my email. You can go on my website. There's a great article, The 7 Secrets to Shift Your Mindset and Raise Your Energy. We as the parent have to sometimes be the person to do the work first so that we can learn how to regulate our own emotions. And so I have a lot of good information in there. I have a free Facebook group, Parent and Teacher Empowerment. Oh, you can't see that last T, Parent and Teacher Empowerment. And my Instagram is Kristen Ancker Coaching. So feel free to connect with me. And you'll see up top here, I am hosting a live event next month. So May 18th, Saturday, May 18th, I'm hosting a women's wellness retreat. So just for the moms. But it's really a day, it's that weekend after Mother's Day. It's a day to prioritize our health and well-being, because as the mom, I'll just say it, we are in charge of a lot of different things. So we have a lot of the brain capacity is doing many, many different things. So one of the biggest things that we have to do, and especially as teachers as well, so this is open for any women, we have to learn to take care of ourselves, self-care, self-love. So I'm partnering with this amazing health and wellness coach, personal trainer, and Tara Mazanik and I are hosting a small retreat. So spaces are limited, and we will be doing strength training, yoga, mindful eating. We'll get lots of good recipes from her. And I am going to be focusing on the life evaluation process and growth mindset skills, and really a lot of the strategies and positive communication. And we're going to be learning that miracle mom morning. So like how we can prime ourselves so that we can think to self-regulate. We can repair when needed. But I hope this was helpful. Please reach out with any questions. And again, thank you to the Weston Middle School PTO. Thank you to Mr. Doak. And I appreciate you having me today. All right. Have a great day, and bye for now.